Domino's employees' jaws dropped after finding out why daily customers for 10 years stopped ordering their pizza. Every one of us has some sort of habit. In a way, it gets easy to define someone by the habit he has. And if we speak frankly, slouching in front of the TV after work enjoying pizza and a cold drink is something that many of us have gotten accustomed to. Like we said, our habits easily identify what and who we are sometimes. So if a customer has ordered from you every day for 10 years straight, then it would be odd for them to suddenly not order. This story is an unbelievable one that will leave you to regain faith in humanity. The man in our story is Kirk Alexander. He is a 48-year-old man who resides in Salem, Oregon. You may find that you already have a lot in common with this guy. Why do we say so? Well, this guy would order every day from Domino's Pizza. He is someone who truly loves his pizza, and to be quite honest, who does not love a good slice of pizza? Alexander would always order the same Domino's pizza each day. Since he had been a very loyal customer for so long, they were somewhat acquainted. And one day, something truly weird happened. His daily order suddenly stopped after 10 whole years of ordering some pizza. And obviously, the people who worked there grew a little concerned. It was evident the kind of love that this man had for Domino's Pizza. The employees who worked there revealed that this guy named Kirk Alexander would always order anything from pizza, sandwiches, and pasta. He always took the time each day to grab some food from a particular outlet. He would always order an item because it was his favorite snack. However, among all the items he would order, his most ordered item was pizza. He absolutely loved to buy pizza each day. And obviously, for someone who loved their food so much, the employees at this Domino's outlet were pleased. And as this man was just living his life, something unfortunate suddenly took place. This came as a sudden shock that no one was prepared for. Because he was such a regular, ordering the same items daily, it did not take long before the workers knew who he was. And pretty soon, the employees already knew what Kirk Alexander's usual orders were. His order would be done using the internet. He was not the ordering in person type of guy, or someone who calls the fast food joint. Alexander would mostly order from the internet, so the employees always expected his orders to pop up on the screens of their machines. His order pops up on the screen because he orders online, so we see it come across the screen and we're like, oh, Kirk's order. Sarah Fuller, who is Domino's general manager, revealed in a later interview. We all know that Domino's has good pizza, but this guy was someone who adored the food they made on a whole other level. And so one day, after over 10 years of placing orders daily, the man's orders suddenly stopped. It had been 11 days without a single order that came from Alexander, and since this had never taken place before, it was weird. Since they were so used to him placing at least one order each day, the people who took his orders felt that something was off. How come this guy had not ordered a single box of pizza for over a week now? As each day passed by, the employees began to question themselves. They were discussing Kirk's strange potential situations. If you had a store and someone kept coming back, you would obviously take note of who they are, right? Well, since Kirk Alexander would keep on placing his online orders at Domino's Pizza, the employees there received him on a daily basis. They would bring food to him each day for 10 long years now. Since this was a daily routine, the people who dealt with him already had an impression of Kirk. The people who work there spoke about him, claiming that he is a nice and friendly kind of person. He orders all the time, so we know him, explained the general manager. There was never any major conflict as such between the relationship they shared. As we had mentioned before, if you speak or interact with someone every day, you are bound to get some sort of impression. Even though there was no actual calls or drop-ins that much, Alexander was always ordering from the same diner online every other day for a decade. This basically means that both ends got to know each other a little too. For someone to be ordering for 10 years straight, there is bound to be some bond shared by the employees and Alexander too. And so, since Kirk's order was more frequent than most, the workers began to identify him as a family member of the Domino's Pizza. He was more than a patron there, and so something terrible must have happened for him to just stop like that. So after waiting for Alexander to get back to his old ways and order online or even call, he failed to do so for over a week. And even after 11 days, nothing happened still. So since this was the case, the staff there just had to do something or find out what was wrong. So very soon, they were concerned about Kirk's recent behavior. Was there trouble on his side? And since it had been over a decade of receiving his orders, the staff were beginning to feel like they just had to contact him. Even if Alexander was on a trip, they already knew that he never took such long vacations, and this kind of vacation has never taken place before too. So everybody was scratching their heads trying to figure out what the actual cause. After trying to be patient and waiting for him, the time finally came for the people working there to do something. They were now sure that something must have happened to Alexander for him to avoid them for this long. He was not just another customer, so even 10 days of not ordering anything was strange. Did he have trouble with them? And in the end, the only option they were left with was to hold a discussion. Eventually, the employee had a sit-down to speak about this case with Alexander. After trying to decide about how to go about this weird incident, they finally came up with an idea. The employees made a decision that checking in on Kirk would definitely be a good idea. And there was a good reason behind what they thought they needed to do. They decided that sending a guy over to check on their golden customer. The reason for the general manager's decision to have someone go over to check on Kirk was majorly due to the concerns they had with his well-being. They had an inkling that Alexander must have been in trouble of some sort. And so, the manager handed over the task of going to their customer's place to one of the employees there. And this worker who got to check in on Kirk was Tracy Hamblin. They had no exception of what was to come, but since it was too odd for him to have suddenly stopped ordering, they had to clarify their doubts. And so she finally reached this place and approached Kirk's door. And so when Tracy finally reached Kirk's home, she did not know what to expect and noticed that the lights were on and that there was noise coming from the television. It appeared as though everything was fine, that there was nothing to worry about. Was he actually okay then? She was not aware, but she was sent for a reason, so she decided to check still. And as she stood outside, she was questioning herself whether she should get inside or just head back. However, since she was sent for a purpose, she decided to make a call. She then dialed Kirk to get through to him from his phone. Tracy's calls were sent directly to voicemail and with no answer. There was something fishy going on here. And since this was a private home, Tracy did not have the right to enter. She definitely could not just barge in his house. She had not been invited, nor had ever been to his house. But she did try to get some kind of response from him. She began knocking on the door several times, but to no answer. She was getting anxious and dialed for help. Before she called the police, she decided to first check with her coworkers. She decided to head back where she and her Domino's Pizza colleagues spoke about the best approach for this dilemma. They soon made a decision that calling 911 would be the best option now. They figured that telling the authorities about their worries would somehow prove fruitful. After contemplating what to do, they made a final decision to call 911. And when they answered, the message that they had was this: "This is Domino's Pizza, and we have a customer that usually orders like every night from us, and he hasn't ordered in 11 days. Although it might have seemed a little overdramatic, to them this was a case of concern. And so when they called the police, they took their message seriously and decided to act on it too. After dialing 911, the staff immediately called upon the sheriff that would be able to go and see Kirk Alexander. This was a confusing situation, as they could have been completely wrong, that their assumptions could have proved to be a mistake. And so, since Tracy did not know how to go about the situation, she handed the responsibility over to the police. When they contacted the police, they soon arrived at Kirk's house. They then tried to get a response from him too. The police started banging on his door and even called out his name loudly and repeatedly. There was no response as such, but after constantly trying to get some kind of response from him, they heard something from inside. And to their surprise, the police started hearing some noise that came from the interiors of Kirk's house. Could it be that Alexander was reaching for some help? What was the sound and what did it mean? There were so many questions that the police had. And so, just as they had suspected, Kirk was indeed in trouble. After waiting for Alexander to answer their call, they went ahead and went in. They did this only after waiting for so long from him to get to the door, but still hearing some sounds. They finally decided on breaking into Kirk Alexander's home and discovered that he was lying on the floor. Something happened. When they saw that he was just lying on the ground, the police were incredibly shocked. They did not know how serious this was going to be. Was he still alive, or had he passed away? There were some who believed he had suffered from a stroke, and so the police immediately called for an ambulance to come for their rescue. And the police were happy to learn that Alexander was, in fact, still breathing and very much alive. They did not waste any time and soon got to the hospital. It was fortunate that the ambulance happened to come just in time before anything worse happened. After he reached the hospital, Alexander got the treatment and rest he needed. So he was now feeling better. And the police were right with their assumption. Alexander did suffer from a stroke and was lying face down for a long period of time with the absence of any professional help. This clearly is not good with his situation, but Alexander received unexpected help from his Domino's Pizza family in the form of the concerned employees. And since they got informed about their favorite customer's recovery, the workers were truly happy. "We're like a family here, and we were glad we were able to do something to help. We hope he's able to fully recover from this," revealed the general manager of the Domino's Pizza family. They were happy to see that he did not lose his life. It was fortunate that Tracy was sent to check on him. They were not too late and Kirk had not passed away from his stroke, and they really were concerned about Alexander's well-being. After the doctors revealed to them that he would be fine, the workers all celebrated that no death took place. I think we were just doing our job checking in on someone we know who orders a lot. We felt like we needed to do something. Sarah Fuller, the general manager, also added when interviewed. The crew that managed to save this guy's life are indeed heroes. It was amazing that they were kind and humble enough to check up on their faithful customer. And soon, the news of these local heroes saving the life of a loyal customer began to make the rounds. People were spreading the amazing news around the globe. Interviews had also been done with them, but they requested not to be called heroes as they were not comfortable with being called so. What they have done is truly wonderful and rare. And so the two heroes that had gone out of their way to check on Kirk Alexander went to receive Captain America Civil War tickets and even paid a trip to Domino's Worldwide Rally in Las Vegas. They did not consider themselves as saviors, but identified as something else. According to them, they just wanted to do what felt right. And to cement just how loving and caring they are, the local pizza heroes had a message for their golden customer. They wanted him to understand that they were there for him, that they were still a family no matter what. The employees had also gone to drop a visit to him at the hospital 3 times. We sincerely hope for the best to everyone concerned here. We must all strive to be like these heroes.